And you have those elements, then you're armed to attack, to deal with, and be prepared to go up against anything. Again, I like those things. So when I found myself in prison at the age of 19, I'm still wild, I'm still confused, and I'm just going out for something I didn't do. So I'm really like, man, and I'm still seeing the world through the eyes of a hoodlum. I'm seeing the world through the eyes of a gangbanger. And I talk about my prison experience as a blessing and a curse. And it became my blessing because I met someone there, and that person I met was my father, the guy that had abandoned me, the guy that left me for dead in the streets, basically, to take the ashes, who he was, and develop myself based upon that. Because even though I wasn't around my father, I was around different people that knew my father. And when they would see me fight and do something, like, you act just like your daddy. And I was like, all right, you're right. Even though he wasn't with me, he was with me in a negative way. So I'm struggling to be like my father in a negative way. And when we met up in prison, he shared with me that the greatest gift that a man can give as a child is his precious time. And I was at a pivotal point in my life, because being in prison, you're in an environment that's hard to trust people, because it's give or take at any moment. So now I'm ready to roll a dice with a man that in essence, I know who he is, but we really don't have no real relationship. So it is very fragile right now. And the best thing he could have told me at that moment, which was, son, you made a mistake in your life. And there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. All human beings make mistakes. But there's something wrong if you want to continue to make those same mistakes. Because at that time and at that moment, I thought he was going to scold me. I thought he was going to say, I told you so. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't have done that. I didn't want to hear that. Because that's what I've been used to hearing. That allowed me to lock myself into this mentality of continue to struggle the opposite way. So when he said that, then that triggered something in my mind, because I wasn't prepared for that. It opened up a connection to this man. I made a mistake. You can learn from your mistake. Well, you don't have to make that same mistake. You don't have to continue to struggle the same way. You can struggle differently. And not only sharing this with me, he showed me. He helped me. That's a different thing too when we talk to people and we talk about, well, you shouldn't be doing this. But what are you doing to help them do it differently? Because we can tell people all the time what they shouldn't be doing, who they shouldn't be with, what they shouldn't be doing. But what are we doing to show them something else? Because best believe they know what they shouldn't be doing because they're human. But do we have the courage when we look in the mirror to really not live that lifestyle? Because none of us born in this world to be by ourselves, even though we came in this world by ourselves. No one is an island to themselves. We're not. I don't care how much we think in our mind, how much that person hurt me. I ain't going to deal with them no more. I ain't going to deal with nobody else no more. I'm gonna be that's illogical. God didn't create it that way. He just didn't. He didn't create white people with black people. He just didn't. Despite our struggles, we still find ways to be together because that's how God created us to be. We go through things that we go through to bring out a better person to us. And actually, I was just sitting on the table, and they were talking about a scripture, and that was something my father shared, which was God would never put a burden on you that you can't bear yourself. That God would never change the condition of a people until you change it yourself. These are things that my father was sharing with me. Early on in my young mind, I couldn't really comprehend it, but I knew the essence of what he was saying, and it carried on my mind. And his words became a guide for me, or a guide through the maze that I was in. I learned how to struggle now the right way. I began to take new information. The new information began to open up new doors. My mind began to affect my body. So I began to think healthy. I wanted to start eating healthy now. I want to start doing healthy things now. So what affects how you struggle is information. If you begin to allow yourself to be a prison to watching Oprah all day, you're going to behave in that Oprah way. If you allow yourself to be a prisoner to drinking alcohol, you're going to behave in an alcoholic way. A lot of us never experienced prison, but we allow ourselves to be in prison due to a lot of things that we convict ourselves to. We become the judge, the jury, and the prosecutor in our own lives. But we can free ourselves. By freeing ourselves, now we open up a new us. a new me, a new you. And that's very scary. It is. I can admit it. It scared the hell out of me when I was in prison, and I'm looking in the mirror, and the only person I can see is myself. You know, ask yourself, who are you? You know, and my name, Yusef Shakur, I had that name for a reason. My whole name is Yusef Bunchi Barudi Shakur, which means honorable soldier, thankful to God. That's who I am. I'm thankful to God that I'm here today. I feel honor upon my mother for naming me after my grandfather. I have a heart of a soldier because I feel like I'm in God's army doing what He wants me to do. I'm a teacher. We all should be teachers, sharing information. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we need to think beyond the name that was given to us, to identify something that, again, that's a struggle. So when somebody asks you who you are, you just say, I'm Michael. Who is Michael? Define Michael. Define Rachel. Again, that's a struggle that we're afraid to engage in. And we may lose the battle continuously, but the goal is to what? To win the war. You can win 99% of the battles, but come around and win that one war. Why? Because you engaged, you fought, you've done different things. So now I'm at a pivotal point in my life, and one of the first thing my father gave me was a book. I'm going there, I could barely read, I could barely spell. I just had a street mentality. Because at that point in my life, I didn't know the importance of a regular education or a right education, or just education, period. And new information took this young mind of mine and shredded hoodlum thoughts, shredded thug thoughts, shredded thoughts of a young person that really didn't see himself amounting to being somebody but possibly dead or in prison. Why? Because I allowed myself to be conditioned to take pride in that. Again, we allow ourselves to be conditioned a certain way because we begin to bathe in self-defeating mentality. We begin to believe the lie that it is what it is. No, it's not. It is what it is. This is not a regular pattern of how life's supposed to be. This is what you lie. This is what you've given into because you're afraid to really challenge yourself, as you're already being challenged by the circumstance or the conditions that you're dealing with. Again, when you don't know, you begin to do things that's outside of who you are. One of the books that I remember to this day that had one of the greatest impacts on me was called The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. And it talks about the importance of education. It talks about the importance of developing your mind. It talks about